Simon left when we were chanting. Some Buddhist he is.
Maybe he was enlightened.
Can you guys see the share screen?
Yep.
Okay. Because I'm seeing differently. Okay. It says see the language or word prajna, right?
Yep.
Okay.
We got it.
Good. I'm blind as a bat. You know, the words are so small on my iMac, the Mac Air. So I have to look up to my bigger screen over here. Okay. Determination. Language. So there are three kinds of prajna. We just finished the insight. So here is a language or word prajna. Now, as I mentioned it earlier, that in the Chinese school, they propagate that no word, direct mind. So it became a saying only. So it's just like a trendy phrase that, you know, people use. And it's very popular at one time, you know, after Bodhidharma came to China. Now, Venerable Insun explained that the language that's not limited to verbal or written. It can be body or sign. Well, it's very common that, you know, you got hit by a stick in the Chinese school. Or, you know, somebody pointing at the moon with a finger. That's a sign language, right? That's a sign language. These are also languages. So language, word, word, or any kind of verbal are media only. So if we use the finger pointing towards the moon, the purpose is not to look at the moon, the finger, but, you know, look at the moon, right? So the goal is the moon. So, but then we think about it without the finger, then our attention won't be directed to the moon. So the finger is actually a media, some sort of a guidance. So that's the language or the word prajna. Now, these three kinds of prajna, or the reality or true appearance of the prajna, the insight and the prajna of language are in fact sequence of practice. So we think about it. We need to start with the language, right? And then to start learning from any form of language, then to practice accordingly with the insight, then eventually we'll be able to realize. So again, here are three types of prajna that we just mentioned earlier, right? We have the Suttamaya prajna, we have the Chittamaya prajna, then we have the Bhavanamaya prajna. The Chittamaya prajna is actually the insight, okay? We investigate, we reason, we organize, So the language it's the suttamaya, the knowledge that we learn at the beginning. So those are steps or sequence of practice. Then let's go to in what sense it is named, why is it named prajna? So the three types of prajna above, the language, insight, the word actually serves as the tool, like we just explained. The insight serves as a developmental skill to reach the realization. And then the reality or true appearance is the perfect realization and the prompt experience of reality that require transcendental or profound wisdom. So therefore, reality can be named it as the prajna. Okay. The other two are good, but then they are steps. So the reality is what we can name as the prajna. Same thing that we talk about Tsongkhapa's sequence of practice. We have the renunciation, we have the Bodhi mind, we have the renunciation mind developed, then the Bodhi mind, and then the law of nature, the nature, true nature of all phenomena. Same steps. Come to think about it, if we compare it, okay, we compare it, it's the same thing. Finally, at the final goal, the emptiness or realization of the emptiness is actually get us from the shore across the ocean of samsara to the other shore of liberation. Okay, we can name it anything. It's just words. Remember, words also empty in nature. So everything you can, when we study the sutta or the sutras, we figure out that Buddha doesn't speak a word of waste. Okay, the truth. He just speak of the truth, and then he just teach us how to get from suffering, to the other shore of liberation. No a waste word. Okay, no matter from which angle that we look at the teaching, you can spot any sutta, any discourse, you can spot either the 12 links or the Four Noble Truths or the 37 perfection. Okay, whichever way, maybe in a different angle that cuts in, maybe in a different type of language, maybe from a different type of topic. But, eventually he said that this is that, this is the steps, this is the goal. So very interesting. So the next question about the four prajna is, what is the function of prajna, or how prajna functions? There are two paths. One is to break away from samsara by taking the self-salvation path. Okay, and then you tell me later on, what is this one called? There are three vehicles we talk about. So which vehicle is doing that? Anybody? To break away from samsara by taking the self-salvation path.
Small vehicle.
Small, or what we call the Hinayana, right?
Theravada.
Or we can call it Theravada nowadays. But Venerable Master Insun specifically pinpoint when, I don't know if you have, some of us may have studied the way to Buddhahood. Okay, the way to Buddhahood, it's divided into 5 chapters. The first one is what? First one is paying homage, right? To the trip. Yeah, very good. Yeah. Then paying homage, the triple jewel. The next one is listening to the righteous Dhamma, right? And entering onto the paths. The third one is the Dhamma common to the 5 vehicles. The next one is the Dhamma common to the 3 vehicles. And the last one is the Mahayana vehicle, right? Excuse me. So the 3 vehicles it talk about is right here. 3. The first one, to break away from samsara by taking the self-salvation path, is the vehicle of Savakas, right? And the Pachika Buddhas, right? Am I correct? Then,
Yes.
yeah, and B, to take the Bodhisattva path, is the vehicle of the Bodhisattva. Well, actually, the 3 vehicles, including the Bodhisattva, it's the Savaka, Prajika, and the Bodhisattva, I believe, if I remember correctly. Okay, so there are 2 paths. Either we cultivate the renunciation mind and say, hey, bye, I'm leaving. So you guys take care of yourself. Okay? Because I'm sick and tired of this samsara. I'm sick and tired of rebirth. But then the next one is say that, okay, yeah, I'm okay now, and I look back and I see people swimming in the ocean of samsara. I say, hey, I cannot do that. So I go back and say that, don't worry, guys, I'm here. What can I help? So 2 paths. So we can make a decision, or we don't have to make a decision. Our habitual pattern is going to guide us. But since we have the opportunity of studying, the Buddhist teaching, so think about that. Think about that. Which path is more we can accomplish? This is how it's set, at this point of time in our class, in this course, at this point of time, we can say that, oh, okay, there are various paths. But by the end of this class, when we get to Lotus Sutra, we don't have to struggle that much because everybody has embraced it. Okay. So, one thing that, and I did that long time ago, I probably won't, up to the point I don't do that often. I would say maybe once in a while. I always say that, oh, okay, you're helping yourself only. I am cultivating the Bodhi mind. I am walking the Bodhisattva path. So I'm so superior up here. So beware of that kind of mindset, okay? Whoever practices is a practitioner. So the prajna belong to whom? Or who can develop prajna? Now, Venerable Master Insun explained that reality or true appearance can be witnessed or realized by all 3 noble groups: the Savakas, the Pajika, Buddhas, and the Bodhisattva. So it was those three groups. So regardless of which path that we prefer, practitioners can practice and develop the prajna of reality in order to eradicate the defilements and break away from samsara. Therefore, it can be said that prajna is attainable by all these three groups. Okay. Now the difference is the skillful means and their vows. Of course, we just said that, Bodhisattva, we have our vows that I want to salvage all beings. But then a vow, it's a saying, it's a mental set. Good, not bad at all. But we need skillful means. We cannot go around and say that you have to do this, you have to practice. We have to speak the language. But then it's not easy because, remember we just said, when a bodhisattva reaches the 8th bhumi, that is the time to start learning the skillful means. Okay. Before that, we can cultivate the mindset. So when we get to the mental factor, we'll be easily to perceive, identify what is happening in this defiled mind at this certain point of time. And we'll realize that each thought that arises actually affecting not only, verbal, physical, but a mental action. So it's so beautiful. Dhamma is so beautiful. Okay, the next one is the paramitas. And I think we went into depth about the paramitas. If not, then I believe that when we go to the next topic, the Yogacara, School of Yogacara, I think I have make up a chart on explaining that. So we will just touch it at this point of time. So it is an enlightened quality of transcendental wisdom. It's an insight. It's the perfection of understanding. Paramita also means crossover from the ocean of samsara to reach the other shore of liberation. Now, Master Inson mentioned that parami or paramita, though meaning crossover, it doesn't mean that we are already there. Not yet. Okay, it should say that crossover, but we have to we have to fill up those little jars of paramids. Okay, little jars, when they fill up, we practice, we perfect it, then we can say that, oh, okay. Then he said that we should not, in fact, focus on perfecting the practice of, we should, in fact, focus on perfecting these practices. And then he said that any practice or any method that would lead us from samsara to the other shore of liberation can be named as parami. So it's not limited. So we're saying that, well, Mahayana Sutra, developmental, it's not limited. When you read Venerable Master Inson's book, it doesn't give you a box that you have to, screw yourself, crash yourself into this small box. He actually encouraged practitioners to think, outside of the box, but very careful. It had to be within the 3 seals. If you read something online and it tells you, oh, this is Dhamma, be very careful. Be very careful. Because the 3 seals cannot, anything that doesn't match those seals, it's actually not spoken by the Buddha. Then now we kind of go a little bit further. There are two main points of the entire sutra. First of all, to explain or teach the concept of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Okay. Sometimes, my tongue doesn't roll that much. So what is this one? We just explained it. That is the highest, most completely realization, right? We remember that. If not, go back to the notes. So this Sanskrit word is a compositional word. A means none, endless, without limit. And Uttara means higher or greater, or greatest should be. Some means all or righteous. Yak means equivalent, same level. And again, some means all right, all or righteous. Bodhi means awakening, enlightenment, or wisdom. So prajna is the highest, greatest, righteous, enlightenment quality that no other level can compare to it. And the content of the sutra disclose the way to attain such a level. And don't forget, this is the path towards Buddhahood, okay? Only the Buddha has this kind of quality, not even the Arahat, not even the Bodhisattva yet, okay? Of course, in the Theravada tradition, they said differently, okay? They said that, Arahat has the same level of realization. So don't argue with that, because when we read a passage, when we read this sutra, don't forget we are from different culture, from different upbringing, different perception, with different faculty, even though they are all empty in nature. So somebody at certain stage may perceive the teaching this way, the other will perceive from another angle or perception. So to illustrate the path of practice in order to attain Bodhi or enlightenment, Subhuti asked the Blessed One, the Buddha, twice about how to practice to calm the unsettled mind and subdue the craving or cravings thoughts. So that's in chapter 2 and in chapter 7. Remember I said when we go to the structure of this sutra, we'll find out that, the first chapter is a preface. It's introduced, let you know who are there, what is the timing, and what is the condition that is favorable for that meeting. And then also talk about, the Buddha wearing his robe going for alms round. Those are prefaces that, telling you what happened, and then what are the conditions for the assembly or meeting to happen, or why the Buddha, is giving the discourse. Because someone asked, right? And that someone is Subhuti, right? Okay. So Master Insun, and then, come back to the structure. Chapter 2 through chapter 16 is the explanation or discourses by the Buddha. Starting from chapter 17, the Subhuti asked the question again. Okay, so Venerable Master Insun, explained it in the following way. So we'll take a look. And he said that the first time of the question asked can be classified as the path of Bodhi. And the second time is the path of skillful means. See, now it's all clear why, ask it twice, right? So at the first stage, start from the beginner's mind or till attaining fruition, the practice is developed to develop wisdom in order to realize the emptiness and selflessness. Here, a practitioner focuses on mastering and understanding the empty nature and working on the detachment from appearance of all phenomena. This is when the practitioner sees the path. This stage refers to the development of awakening or the path of Bodhi. In the Chan school, there is, you can very frequently hear that the term sees the path, okay? Sees the path, it's not enlightened yet. That is the time to actually learn. So as a Buddhist, we call ourselves, have we seen the path yet? Not really. Okay. It is said that in the Chan school, seeing the path is equivalent to stream entrance in the Theravada tradition. So the second stage, the practitioner is at the stage of completing and clearly realize that the empty nature and the reality of compositional existence of all phenomena before attaining Buddhahood. This is when the Bodhisattva already reached the eighth bhumi. And from then, they salvage all beings through skillful means. That's when they learn the skillful means and practice. At this time, the ultimate skillful means is fully functional. So it is called the skillful path. The first stage is the beginner's mind attaining fruition. The second stage is the learning of skillful means. Okay. I think it's important to know that. If we want to understand, the Diamond Sutra a little bit. Of course, the definitions are good to know, but at least we have to understand the structure. Okay, so Venerable Master Insun teach another set of teaching. It's called the 5 kind of Bodhi within the 2 stages. In the Chinese language, it's called 2到5菩提, okay? So 5 stages, 5 Bodhis. What kind? What 5? The Bodhi of determination mind or the wisdom of the beginner's mind, okay? So that's what? Stage 1, right? Remember? And the Bodhi of overcoming mind or the wisdom of concord mind. And then the Bodhi of insight or the wisdom of illuminated mind. The Bodhi of liberation or the wisdom of freedom and attainment. And then the last but not least, actually, is the very important one, the ultimate Bodhi or the wisdom of completeness. So I don't know if I highlight, no, I did. Okay. So you can see that, A, B is one group, and then C, it's just like a connection to C, to D and E. So we start from determination, and then we overcome overcome all the difficulties. And at that time, we're able to practice insight. Now, with the insight, then will lead us towards liberation. Then when we're at certain stage, like the 8th Bhumi of the Buddhist Tattva, the ultimate Bodhi or wisdom will be at its completeness. So according to Venerable Insun, if we understand the structure and the sequence of the 2 paths and the 5 Bodhi, we will be more clearer and easier to understand the Diamond Sutra. And I have a chart here. Okay, this is the chart. And you see in the middle is the Bodhi of insight here. Oh, I forgot my beautiful, beautiful light. I'm not sure if I have it. Ah, I do. Okay, here. Here's the Bodhi of insight. So you see that stage 1, stage 2. So A, B, C, D, E. And then what does it lead to? Okay, so we see that, the Bodhi connects to the mind of emission, the mind of fruition attainment, the fruition attainment. So all the others, like overcoming the Bodhi of liberation, these 2 are connected to the practice. So we practice this and we practice that, okay? And then the Bodhi of determination is very important too, So this is the chart, this is the diagram that Venerable Master Insun was, he posted that. I just, converted it into English and then change the setting a little bit. So the 2 paths and the 5 Bodhi, let's go over it a little bit. Okay, so the first one is the Bodhi of determination. And he said that, determine and vow to attain Buddhahood and cultivate Bodhi mind in order to liberate himself and to salvage all being. The beginner's mind determines to develop the Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Why do we need this? Think about that, if you decided, if you have not decided to sign up for this class, would you be here in the class? Or you decided, you didn't make up the mind, determined that, okay, this is Saturday, this is Sunday, now we don't have anywhere to go. But then, you can sit on the couch and watch TV or even sleep in. Okay, why wake up so early in the morning? And by 8:30, we have to sit in front of the computer. Determination and vow, it's an energy. It's an encouragement. It's a force that help us gear, a mind towards a certain goal. So with the determination, we learn, we practice. So the second one is to overcome. The next step is to practice to fulfill the 6 paramitas in order to overcome the defilements of vexations. The 6 paramitas, it's not a lifetime's work. It's many, 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 many lifetimes work. Of course, for those already practiced in the past, this life maybe is just waiting for the condition to be favorable. Then all of a sudden, it's called instant or sudden realization. But then for people who just, new to the teaching, it takes a little while. It takes a little while. But being that said, but everything, all the path towards the goal starts with the first step, right? So we make the determination that I want to practice, I want to learn, then we'll be able to overcome all those difficulties. I cannot get up in the morning at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock. I determine that I will overcome. And then the defilement here is laziness, right? So we will see that, it's actually connected, the mental factor. And it's not far away, it's within this body and mind. And then the next one will be the body of insight or wisdom. At this stage, the body of wisdom, the practitioner clearly perceives the empty nature already there. Hey, not bad, okay? The practitioner is able to confirm and ratify the reality at the experience level. Wow, this is the body of insight. Now from stage 1 to 3, the practitioner is still on the developmental stage, and he's still considered as practicing the Bodhi path, the first path, okay? Not there yet, not there yet. We haven't crossed over yet. The Bodhisattva, the Bodhi of liberation or the wisdom of freedom and attainment at this stage, a righteous and victorious vow will take place. So remember, we have 2 vows. At the beginning, we vow to study, right? We vow to attain. So right now, what is the vow? We vow, and this is the most superior, we vow to become a bodhisattva. And here, this is the 8th bhumi that the bodhisattva attained the meditative state called forbearance regarding non-arisen phenomena. Okay, there are articles explaining that. In the Chinese word is called 无生法忍. So due to which they are at the stage of equanimity, they start to practice the skillful means of salvaging sentient beings and gradually break away and liberate from the 3 realms, desire, the form, and the formless. This means that liberation from samsara, the cycle of rebirth. Therefore, this is called the Bodhi of liberation. They are free from samsara and reaching the destination of Buddhahood, okay? So like we just said, the 8th bhumi of a bodhisattva. So the last one, the ultimate Bodhi, or the wisdom of completeness. At this stage, the bodhisattva has extinguished all fetters and taints, untangled all bondages, completed salvation of the self and others, cut off the habitual pattern, perfect all paramitas, and attain the Aruttara Samyak Sambodhi. We have to train our mind to think when we study in a way that when we read this, is there anything that come up to the mind that you want to compare? Okay, let's think. It says at this stage, the Bodhisattva has extinguished all fetters and taints. Other than the Bodhisattva, which vehicle that will do that at the fruition stage? The Arahats, right? Because the Arahats already cut off all 10 fetters and untangle all the bondages. Completely salvation of who? Themselves, right? Do you guys see the comparison? Any question about that? Do you understand what I'm trying to do?
Could you please repeat?
Okay. Now, when we read this, E, the ultimate Bodhi, or the wisdom of completeness, at this stage, the Bodhisattva has extinguished all fetters and chains, untangled all bondages, complete salvation of the self and others, cut off all habitual patterns, perfect all paramitas, and attain the Antara Sambodhi. Okay. Now, when we read this passage, we can think about, this is the Mahayana Sutra. This is the Mahayana tradition. What happened on the other side? Or not necessarily other side. I mean, paraside, the Theravadins, right? So they also extinguish at the highest stage as an Arahat, also extinguish all fetters and taints, because they cut off all the 10 fetters, untangle all bondages, complete salvation of who?
Themselves.
Yeah. So not the others yet, right? They didn't do that, right? They just complete salvation of themselves. The next one is very important. Cut off all habitual patterns. It is said that in the Mahayana tradition, again, the Theravada tradition has a different viewpoint. But here we are studying the Mahayana Sutra. So the Mahayana tradition, a lot of the teachings refer that arahats still maintain a certain habitual pattern, but their actions doesn't bring effects because it's non-contaminated, it's not tangled, it's not fetters, it's not taints. So whatever action, even though compared to the Bodhisattva, the level of loving kindness, the level of compassion, they're not able to compare to the Bodhisattva. And then they still remain, retain some habitual patterns there. But they are very, very, very subtle that, whatever action is not going to lead to any effect because the energy is so weak. That's one. Now come back to the Mahayana teaching, the Bodhisattvas. At this stage of ultimate Bodhi, they cut off all the habitual pattern. Once they cut off all the habitual pattern, that means they reach the Buddhahood. So it is said that they will be fully, totally enlightened like the Buddha. because they attained the Tara Sambodhi. Before this stage, they have to maintain certain subtle habitual pattern. Okay, and that kind of habitual pattern is still like the taint of feathers. In the Chinese word, it's why do they do that? Because they want to stay in the samsara to salvage people. So it's called retaining some taints so that they still maintain the faculty of capability of staying within the samsara to salvage people. It's a very subtle thing, okay? But when you compare the two traditions, you can see the similarity, and also you can see there are fine lines between those. At this stage, I don't think we have to worry too much about that. I just bring this up so that when we read the suttas or sutras, that will prompt us to investigate a little bit further. Okay, and then when we go further, deeper into the profound teaching, we'll be able to realize that when a thought comes out, what happened. And then these little information would store there eventually, because you guys are going to teach eventually, right? And we don't know, who the audience would be later on. So every single bit of the teaching, we need to pay a little bit careful attention. So prajna or wisdom is the core teaching, and skillful means its function, according to Master Insun. Prajna is the principle, and skillful means is the implementation of the principle. Same thing that we're saying that, listening to the discourse, to the sutra, to the teaching, compared to practice, okay? Listening doesn't mean it's not practice. Learning doesn't mean it's not practice. It's not necessary that chanting or meditation or doing generosity, they are practice. Listening is another type of practice. It's just like, the pair of the eye. It's the navigator. Practice is of our legs that walk us to the goal. But, without the eyes, we can be going towards the wrong direction. But if we just listen and learn and learn and learn without walking, then it would never reach the goal. So it's just like the two wings of the bird, the two wheels of the cart. Make sense? Okay. Number 7, okay, the translators. The translators, well, Venerable Master Insun did go a little bit, I think about maybe 2.5 pages about the translator, both Xianzang and Kumarajiva in his discourse. But then, we don't have the leisure in the time frame, so it would be totally a different topic. So it's here I just mentioned the two translators from different school, and we know that Kumarajiva translate a lot of the prajna paramitas, and his translation is actually from the reciting copy of the Madhyamika school. So it's more leaning towards the emptiness. Now, while Xianzang, it's more leaning towards the school of Yogacara school, which are mere consciousness or mind-only school, okay? So there are two different versions. So let's go to the structure, and I already mentioned that. Okay, the first one is the affirmation of the sutra. That is chapter 1. Say, this sutra is not coming from nowhere. Okay, we have the people, we have the place, the Anathapindika Park at the Jada's Grove, right? We have the Buddha as the teacher. We have the 2,500 listeners, you know, whether they are arahants or ordinary people. Then we have the daily life of the Buddha going for alms round. You know, those are the affirmation of the sutra all in chapter 1. Okay, so the initiation of the sutra is in chapter 2. Chapter 2 is what? Our main actor or the core person is Shibudi asks the question, right? Then starting from chapter 3 to chapter 31 is the essence or detail. Chapter 3 and chapter 2 is one time Shibudi asked the question. Chapter 17 is for the skillful means. And if we read the sutra, you can see that they are actually repeating the same content in a sense, you know, emphasize on emptiness, non-self. Those are in both with different illustrations. Now, part 3, which chapter 32, it's the conclusion of, you know, circulation glorification. This is a common set of the Buddha's teaching. Almost there. So, affirmation, according to Venerable Master Insun, affirmation is necessary to demonstrate the discourse is actually taught by the Buddha. Okay, and the Buddha, well, we talked about this before. It's about, you know, Buddha doesn't speak a word of waste, a word of force. It doesn't speak of, you know, like nonsense, you know, not relevant words. Then there are special terms that Master Insun explained. Thus, meaning discourse, okay? And also, thus is also referred to wisdom with faith that we're able to follow the Buddha's teaching. Because the teaching is so profound that, you know, we need to have this sincerity or real faith to believe, to follow. So Master Insun mentioned that wisdom and faith is just like two hands of a person. Okay, we can have faith without wisdom. That means, you know, we are giving rise to ignorance. If we have wisdom without faith, pride will arise. So one cannot do without the other. And then I is Venerable Ananda, right? Thus I have heard. Evang me sudang. The me is Ananda. Now, the next sentence, and this is almost a format. The next sentence is at one time or on one occasion. Ekang samayang, right? And then the bhikkhus are the backers, around sparing here, okay? So let's just go ahead and change. Master Insun explained that the backers had two meanings. One, is externally the bhikkhu beg for food because to sustain. Remember the 4 nutrition we talked about? Beg for food in order to sustain the physical form. Internally, they beg for Dhamma so that they can nourish the existence of a wisdom. So a lot of information, right? But that's okay. That's okay. We will be able to master it. Don't worry. Okay. If I can do it, if Yang can cook, you can cook too. So if I can do it, anybody can do it because I have this dual faculty. So we already went through, Master Insun's introduction. I say maybe 20 to 30% of his book on the introduction part. He's gone much deeper and more profound in the sense that if I bring everything on the table we won't be able to finish. Okay, so I have selected a few chapters. I get lazy on this one because I did a talk on the Diamond Sutra based on Master Insun's book. I think, I don't remember which year. And it took me for five, maybe 6 talks to complete. So I won't throw that on you guys, so don't worry. Now, we are going into the passage. The passage, if you see the blue color, is a translation from Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh, okay, based on his translation. The explanation mainly from Venerable Master Insun, but also from Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh. So I bring them together in parallel to explain one concept. So we can see, the venerables, the well-trained scholars and monastic, how can they explain the same topic from a different angle? That's my purpose of bringing this up. Now, chapter 6, 7, 13, and 21 through 25, the longest is 13 and 14. If you read the sutra, they are the longest, and also 16 is too, but then, we don't have time for that. We'll try to cover as much as possible. So we'll take a break.
Sounds good.
Okay, 15 minutes. I want to add something that, what I just said about, when we explain the ultimate Bodhi or the wisdom of completeness. I mentioned about, compare the arahantship with bodhisattva. There is actually a difference, okay? The bodhisattva is purposely retain some of the fetters so that they can, maintain the faculty to stay in the samsara to salvage people. Now, the arahant is totally cut off all the fetters and taints, but they still retain, not purposely, but, it's just naturally, they still retain the habitual pattern. And those habitual pattern, the energy behind that is very weak. So they don't have the faculty to remain in the samsara. Okay, so there is a fine, very subtle, fine difference about that. One is they have the bodhisattvas have the capability of retain some of the taints so that they can, remain in the samsara to salvage people. While arahants, they already completely extinguish the fetters and taints, but then, they still have those habitual pattern, very subtle habitual pattern with them. So there is a difference. But then, like I said, at this point that we don't have to worry about that. It will come, the understanding will come at times. The next one, we're going to read some of the passage. I think for those who have the note with you, it might be easier. I need some help reading the blue lines. We have 3 files, maybe one volunteer for 1 file. So we need 3 people to volunteer. Anyone? Francesca, can you do 1? Okay. How about, I know that Corey, you're busy, right? Doing the monitoring.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So if you want me to, I can.
Okay, would you like to do another one?
So what do you mean by?
Not this file, I'll explain, but not this one. This is like the PP-6, right? Francesca,
Yeah.
start with PP-6, and then maybe Corey, you do PP-7.
Okay.
And who would like to do the next one? Rick, do you like to do that next one? PP-8.
PP-8. Okay, yeah, just
Yeah.
when
When we get to that,
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Okay, sure.
Okay. All right. So just the blue lines, okay? Say, for example, the screen that you are looking at, that chapter 6, can everybody see that? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Chapter 6, there are lines in blue. Okay, like the Venerable Shubhuti said to the Buddha. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, so those are the lines that I need help to read. Is it clear? But I'll signal that, please read, then you read those lines. That will save me some voice. Thank you. Okay, the selected passages, this is chapter 6 and 7. Actually, the blue lines, or the words in blue are extracts from the sutra, translated by Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh. Okay, those are his translations. So in the Diamond Sutra, there are a lot of the time that we will hear or we'll see that, this is the, let me get a good example. Okay, this is this is the teaching, but it's not truly the teaching. Therefore, it is the teaching. That kind of argument, it appears, very often in this sutra. So one example is like this class happened because the university offered and put together the program, and you sign up for the class, right? And the internet right now is the media, and I'm assigned it by Master Juru, to share with you. And the schedule is arranged accordingly. All these conditions come together to give rise to this class. But then after September 27th, all conditions dissolve, and this class exists no more. Okay, this is the concept of depending arising and depending ceasing. Therefore, this class does not really exist. So we'll think about, okay, what does that mean? We're here, it exists, okay? But then it's here because the conditions are favorable for it to happen. So after September 27, all these conditions dissolve. And then, you know, if we cling to this class and say that, oh, please, you know, everybody stays the same, you know, we'll keep the class going on. The condition is not favorable for that to happen. So it's no point of clinging to it, okay? Same as like the sutta or the sutra or the Dhamma exists, then it's not a true Dhamma. It truly is not the Dhamma. Then it is a Dhamma. Same thing, same theory behind it, the same concept behind it, okay? Like another example will say that, you know, the Buddha said, Shibudi, all the dust are not dust. Therefore, it is called a dust. So, or Shibudi, the world is not the world, therefore it is called the world. So at this point of time, we can direct our thinking stream to the conventional and the ultimate truth. Okay, conventionally, yeah, it appeared to be there, but then ultimately it's empty in nature. So we cannot say that it is or it isn't. Okay, so Francesca, would you just 1 line, 2 line here?
The Venerable Subhuti said to the Buddha, in times to come, will there be people who, when they hear these teachings, have real faith and confidence in them?
Thank you. So Subhuti already reached the fruition, we know that, of an arahant. He's an arahant, right? One of the great disciples of the Buddha. He's an enlightened person. So with his wisdom, I don't think he had any problem understanding the meaning of the sutra with deep faith and confidence in the teaching. Now, concerning about the benefit of the others, he asked this question. So he is the main character here, okay? Who is the, sometimes, you know, it takes a person to ask a question or make a statement to prompt the Buddha to give sermon at the time. You know, you can, it's always like very common that in the Nikayas that you see, you know, this person asked, that person asked, even though they are non-Buddhists, they ask question, so the Buddha will give a sermon. So the question is, would people in the future truly believe and understand? Would there be anyone in the future have real faith and confidence? So Venerable Master Insun focus on real faith and confidence here in this verse, that it does have special meanings. It's not just say that, oh, I believe in you. Oh, I believe in this. Oh, I believe so and so. It's not that. It's not just that. Now, real faith, according to Venerable Master Insun, that in the Savaka tradition or in the Theravadan tradition, we can say, only a person reaches the fruition of stream entrance. We know that there are 4 fruitions: the stream enterer, the 7 returner, 1 returner, and the non-returner, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
The stream enterer is the 7 returner. Take it back. The second one is the 1 returner, right? And then non-returner, and then the arahaship. So the stream enterer cut off 3 fetters, okay? The self view, the wrong view, erroneous view of practice, rites, and ritual. We talk about that, you know, like people will perform some rites and ritual, thinking that with this they can be enlightened, especially the ascetics. Some of the ascetics at the time, they performed, you know, extreme rites and ritual, thinking that with that they can be liberated. But the Buddha said, no, no, no. And then the third one will be doubts. Doubt about the triple jewel, doubts about, you know, the teaching, and sometimes doubts about themselves. So without doubt, real faith and confidence is established. Okay, so that is why Venerable Master Insun explained that when a person reaches the fruition of stream entrance, that he or she can equip it with such real faith and confidence because the doubt is cut off. Okay, that means, you know, they have unmovable, steady belief or confidence in the triple jewel. The stream enterer is equivalent to the person in the Mahayana tradition, the first bhumi, which is the purification, bhumi of purification, who sees the path. Now, during this stage, the practitioner removes the afflictions and create afflictions created in this lifetime. Okay, so these people establish unshakable and indestructible faith towards the 4 objects: the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, and the Sila. So no matter what happens, their faith towards these 4 objects will not change, decrease, or destroy them. So real faith and confidence in Shibuli's question, he already insinuated that there will be people who in the future will have real faith and confidence in the teaching. And these are the stream enterers. Okay. Francesca?
The Buddha replied, "Do not speak that way, Subhuti. 500 years after the Tathagata has passed away, there will still be people who enjoy the happiness that comes from observing the precepts. When such people hear these words, they will have faith and confidence that here is the truth."
So Buddha's answer confirms Subhuti's assumption and identify, you know, also identify the time, you know, 500 years from the Buddha's passing. There were people that observed the precept diligently and practiced generosity extensively and conditionally, and also with the clear knowledge and piercing wisdom. So Venerable Master Insun point out historically, 500 years after the Buddha passing away, King Kanika in the Kusan Empire was in power, and then the Mahayana Sutra was very popular. So it kind of, you know, matches what the Buddha said. 500 years later, there are a group of people have faith in Mahayana teaching. Okay, so do we remember 500 years after the Buddha's teaching in India, in the Buddhist community, what happened?
Can you scroll down on the screen for us, please? Thanks.
Is it here?
I think it's the next one.
Yeah. Okay, because I'm looking at my screen. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay. If you remember in the introduction to the Chinese Tipitaka, the first class, we have a chart telling about, 18 schools of the early Buddhism. It's a PDF chart. We have the dotted line, the first council, and then later it's 30 days, 1 month after the Buddha passed away, enter the Parinibbana. Then the first schism, right? Divided into the Theravada and then the Mahayana. So that 100 years later, that's the second council. And the third council is the Ashoka time. That is 300 years later, right? And then in between, I think the fourth is a little bit later than the 500 years, but at the time, Buddhism, it's moving around in the Ashoka's time. And a lot of the what they call the Mahasanghikas, the group, the people, the young monks, mainly are moving around and going, towards the Central Asia. So that's when Mahayana Buddhism started to spread. So that's 500 years after. So it kind of matches what the Buddha said here. I just want to point that out. Okay, next line.
We should know that such people have sown seeds not only during the lifetime of one Buddha, or even 2, 3, 4, or 5 Buddhas, but have, in truth, planted wholesome seeds during lifetimes of tens of thousands of Buddhas.
So here it says that, the virtues and merits or the faith is not developed just in one lifetime. It can go way back, So today we have faith in the teaching. Today, we have this opportunity to come together and learn together. It's not accidental. It's building up. So they already have the virtuous root from thousands or many years ago, uncountable previous life by listening, studying, to build up what we have, the faith we have today. Next.
Anyone who, for only a second, gives rise to a pure and clear confidence upon hearing these words of the Tathagata sees and knows that person, and he or she will attain immeasurable happiness because of this understanding.
Okay, here we go to Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh. He points out 2 important words, see and know. He explained that, to be seen and known by the Buddha is a great inspiration and support for anyone on the path. Now, it's just like, we have this group of good friends, Dhamma friends together. We encourage each other when, the condition is rough, then we still encourage each other to move forward. So make the path easier. That is why the Buddha told Ananda, good friends are the entire path. Okay. And then Venerable Insun said that if a person establishes real faith and confidence in the teaching, it means he or she has made a connection with the Buddha. So there is a saying that one sees the Dhamma, one sees the Buddha. Okay, so it is the connection, not really, this kind of connection is not what we, intellectually understand. This kind of connection is like, okay, we are walking on the same path. It's that kind of connection. It's not that let's shake hand, that kind of connection, or let's converse. It's not that kind. Well, that kind works also, but we have something in common. So automatically we're connecting to each other. Why connected to the Buddha? It's like the Buddha will see, because he has all the power and all the capability that he know that this person walking on the path of enlightenment will become a Buddha eventually. So they are connected. Okay. Next.
Why? Because that kind of person is not caught up in the idea of a self, a person, a living being, or a lifespan. They are not caught up in the idea of a dharma or the idea of a non-dharma. They are not caught up in the notion that this is a sign and this is not a sign. Why? If you are caught up in the idea of a dharma, you are also caught up in the idea of a self, a person, a living being, and a lifespan. If you are caught up in the idea that there is no dharma, you are still caught up in the ideas of a self, a person, a living being, a lifespan. That is why we should not get caught up in dharmas or in the idea that dharmas do not exist. This is the hidden meaning when the Tathagata says, "Bhikshu, you should know that all of the teachings I give to you are a raft. All teachings must be abandoned, not to mention non-teachings."
The simile of a raft is very common, almost, a lot of people know. And this is not the only sutta that use that simile. There are other suttas or sutras using the raft. It's just like, I swim from the ocean of samsara using the raft and cross it to the other shore. Then I still hold on to it. I don't want to let go of my raft. It doesn't make sense, right? Okay. So the Dhamma is the same. You practice the way the Buddha taught, and then after that, you're still holding that, oh, this is true. This is a real thing. This Dhamma really helps. So it's another kind of clinging and craving. So it's not going to do any good, right? So if you hold on, you use the raft to cross, then you look back and see people still swimming in the samsara, and you say that, hey, I let go of my raft and let it save other people. That makes sense. So here, Venerable Insun said that, a few very important concepts here: emptiness of the self, emptiness of the phenomena, which is the external object, and emptiness of the concept of emptiness. Okay, even though the concept of emptiness is still empty. Now we can refer back to 8,000 lines here. It did say that. Okay, if we remember, this teaching, emptiness of the concept of emptiness, still is there, because it said that the perfect, the pure wisdom is not different from the words, first of all. Then the pure or the perfect wisdom it's the concept that we need to also empty. So we can go back and check on those and compare. So Master Yinsun also talk about the four views, referring, the four views are in fact referring to the self as an entity. And if we can detach from the idea that, there is an independent, unchangeable entity called the self, then we have realized the reality on non-self. Did we talk about the non-self? I can't think of. Did we talk about the four views or not? I think we did. I have to go back and check. I think we did talk about the four views, but I'm not 100% sure. Let me go back and check. But one thing that I, would like everybody to remember and keep in mind, the three characteristics of the intrinsic nature, right? Okay, so let's go to emptiness of phenomena. Now, Thich Nhat Hanh explained that in Buddhism, a Dhamma is commonly defined as any phenomena. And we talk about that when we study the Heart Sutra, right? The capital Dhamma is the teaching. The lowercase, it's referred to phenomena or phenomena, or a unique characteristic. For example, on the mental factor, that like anger, worry, sadness, all those psychological phenomena, and they're chitta Dhamma. Okay, we're talking about the Dhamma. Dhamma means phenomena here. Okay, like the body, chair, all those are physical phenomena. And then they also call the rupa. Okay, so we have the chitta, which is related to the mental. We have the rupa, which is related to the physical form. Okay, so we call it Dhamma. We call it, phenomena. And then some of them are neither mental or physical, like gain, loss, words, syllable, acquisition. All those are classified as Chitta Vajrayana Sankara Dhamma. Okay, so it's not related to the mental, and it's not related to the physical, but it is some sort of a phenomena. So, but then they are not conditioned by anything. There are phenomena that are not conditioned by anything. I call the asamkrita dhammas. Okay, we'll come across to that in the Abhidhamma. It's so detailed that it classified it into 5 categories and 75 different mental factors. And I expect everybody to remember that. No. So, according to Venerable Master Yinsun, he said that detached from clinging to concept, that there is an existing unchangeable nature of all phenomena, one will be able to realize the reality of the emptiness of all. I promise that, we'll come across to the intrinsic nature over and over again, okay? So I just give an example of, this class. So kind of expected that, like, I'm over 70 years old, and I'm still have to suddenly, I mean, I know that eventually I'm going to die, but in the mindset, I'm still thinking that, oh, tomorrow, what do I do? The day after, what do I do? After the pandemic is over, what am I going to do? It's just like, I will never die. This is a normal, I mean, untrained mind who is thinking like, in a path like that, in a stream like that. And maybe I'll, still live till 80. But then look at what happened to the pandemic here.
Yeah.
You have a question?
Okay. That is papancha, yes? You're thinking about tomorrow and the next day?
Yes. And no. Papancha. Papancha is something happened, okay? And then that thing will lead to the la la land that I'm expecting. Is more, it's in a way, it is part of a papancha, right? But it's in a way of the mental factor of craving for existence, and also ignorant. And also, I'm not working in accordance to cause and effect, right? So is it a mental proliferation? Yes, because, thinking. But then it's more on the craving and clinging side.
Mm-hmm.
And why this craving and clinging? Because I'm ignorant. I was not I'm not connected to the reality that things can change. I can stop breathing the next minute or the next slap of a finger, So I was not aware of that. And that is what happened, And if we can cut off the papancha, then the proliferation, it's being cut off. Then what is left is to face the fact. So it's not totally separate, more closely connected. Make sense?
Yes, it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
Proliferation, yes.
Yes.
I get it. Once you started down that path, I went, yes, got it.
Yeah.
I understand, yes, how it is and how it isn't.
Thank you. Okay, and then go back to Thich Nhat Hanh. He said that when we have a concept about something, its image already appear in the mind. Okay, within the concept. Say if I see, this is it's a bit difficult to understand. If I see this eyeglass, when the minute that my eye with the physical faculty come across to the external form, then contact start, right? And then we know that, when contact start, feelings start, thinking start, right? All those. In fact, when this eyeglass disappear, it's existing no more, I don't need it. But this image is already there. So what are we clinging? We're not clinging to the eyeglass, we're clinging to the image that already happened in the, mentally. Okay, that's what Thich Nhat Hanh trying to explain. We are not actually clinging to the physical thing. We're clinging to the image we have already. the next topic is going to explain it a little bit in detail. Actually, too much in detail. So we have to detach from this concept. We have to detach from clinging to this concept. How do we do that? We have to understand that this thing, yeah, we can see it, we can touch it, you know, I can smell it, and I don't want to taste it. But, you know, it is there, right? Conventionally, it is there. But then the more thing is that it's in our concept. Okay. And then this, what we call the eyeglass, the image in our mind, is changing. Today, I like it. Tomorrow, I would like to change another pair. So this concept in the mind keep changing. And if we cling to it, you know, I don't want to let go of it, then suffer begins. Because, you know, unwise actions will be performed just to get what we want. And then what we want is just a concept. Okay. And then the other thing that emptiness of the emptiness. Now, Master Insun explained that the idea of empty nature is also empty. This is even more difficult to comprehend. You told me that, you know, all phenomena are empty in nature. And now you're telling me that to let go of that idea of emptiness of the nature, the empty nature of all phenomena. You tell me to let go of that? Up to here, any misunderstanding? Or we are all very good. We are all prajna practitioners that we can understand, right? The concept of empty nature is also conditionally arisen, conditionally, compositionally existence, okay? Because we need that. We need that concept. We need the technique to help us cross the ocean of samsara. Therefore, the Buddha expound this teaching. Tinahan also mentioned that emptiness of emptiness is aiming to help us free from the conceptual idea of emptiness. This is the Madhyamika school actually perfect on explaining that. So, Venerable Master Insun said that if we understand and realize these three types of emptiness, wisdom will arise. And the pure and real faith and confidence will be established. We understand, okay, I say, okay, we understand. Realize it's more on the experiential level. Okay, we have to, like, if I pinch myself, I say, ouch, it hurts. Then I believe that, you know, you understand what the meaning of hurts, but you don't feel it. Because, you know, you're not the one who get pinched. I pinch myself, so I hurt. I know it, I feel it. But then when I say that, oh, ouch, it hurts. You know it, but you don't feel it. Okay? So there is a difference between understanding and realization. So Master Insun said that no, not only one should let go. Let me scroll down. Not only one should let go or empty the self, the phenomenon and the concept of emptiness, also have to let go of the other side. The non-self, the non-phenomena, non-dhamma, non-conceptualization. So we have to let go of this concept of emptiness, but we also have to let go of the concept of non-emptiness, non-conceptualization. That is the difficulty of the Prajna Paramita Sutras. So the Buddha gave a discourse using the raft as a simile. We already went through that. But my reader, it's away. Okay, chapter 7. We'll wait for Francesca.
I thought that was someone else. Okay. My apologies.
That's okay, because you will stay on this PP 6,
Okay.
which means chapter 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Shubhuti? Has the Tathagata arrived at the highest, most fulfilled, awakened mind? Does the Tathagata give any teaching? The Venerable Shubhuti replied, as far as I have understood the Lord Buddha's teaching, there is no independently existing object of mind called the highest, most fulfilled awakened mind, nor is there any independently existing teaching that the Tathagata gives. Why? The teaching that the Tathagata has realized and spoken of cannot be conceived of as separate, independent existences and therefore cannot be described. The Tathagata's teaching is not self-existent, nor is it non-self-existent. Why? Because the noble teachers are only distinguished from others in terms of the unconditioned.
Again, it goes into the format of logic that we just mentioned before. So Master Insun said that the superior wisdom, the prajna, arises from detachment, not from attachment, from all views, all concept, all dhamma. And this is very difficult to comprehend, very difficult to understand, and very difficult to really believe. Therefore, the Buddha used a saintly person as an example to prove that such wisdom can be attained. Okay, so the Buddha asked Shubhuti 2 questions. One is, has the Tathagata arrived at the highest, most fulfilled, awakened mind? Number 2, does the Tathagata give any teaching? Those are the 2 questions, okay? And then very wisely, Shubhuti's answer is that as far as I understand, okay? If I don't understand, don't quote me. As far as I understand, because I really like that phrase, because when I share some of my viewpoints, I'll say as far as I understand. I might not be understanding correctly. So as far as I understand the Buddha's teaching, there is no such thing as fixed and changeable, independently existing thing called the highest, most fulfilled, awakened mind. And there is no such thing as the fixed and changeable, independently existing Dhamma that the Tathagata teaches. The keywords here are fixed, unchangeable, independently existing. Reminds of what? The 3 characteristics of intrinsic nature. See, I promise you that it's going to appear, reappear, and appear again. So he didn't say that the Buddha has or has not arrived at the highest, most fulfilled of the awakened mind. He also didn't say that the Buddha did or did not give any teaching. So as far as he understands, there is nothing that is fixed and changeable, independently existing. So this means that any concept or any teaching, any level of attainment, any Dhamma, if they can be described by word or language. You know, Shibudi, no wonder he's an arahant. He's not going to fall into the trap of, into Buddha's question. That means we're falling into the conceptualization and away from the reality of empty nature. Now, Tin Han, on the other hand, explained that it's not correct to call the Tathagata's teaching a Dhamma. Remember, Dhamma means phenomenon. Since by doing so, we are putting it into a box or pattern and isolate it from other things as if it is individually existing or independently existing. But if we say that it is not a Dhamma, it is also incorrect, because again, you're putting the thing into the other end and say that it's denying it. So denying it, whether it's really a Dhamma or not really a Dhamma, it's a Dhamma, it's a word, right? So we cannot isolate that. If we isolate that, that means it can be independently existing. We cannot isolate that. So the phenomena that are not conditioned by anything is called asankrita dhammas. It's not related to physical, it's not related to mental, and it's unconditioned. Okay? So in the Chinese word, it's called wu wei fa. So it is unconditioned and transcend all concept. The sage or the noble teacher, they are liberated and they realize the unconditioned Dhamma and no longer trapped by form and concept. Therefore, they clearly know the superior wisdom or the prajna, and their faith and confidence in the teaching is indestructible. It's only when they realize that the unconditioned Dhamma or they are not, they understand that these are unconditioned. But then when we say that they are unconditioned, it's falling into the trap of words also. So it's a logical thinking that trains the mind to think, to reason, to investigate. That is so that we can develop faith, because something we experience it. Say if I eat something that is really, really delicious and I taste it myself, okay? And then it becomes that, personally I experience it so that I can tell that, it's part of it's part of, what I experience. So in that way, next time I see this kind of food, I have like unshakable confidence that, it's going to taste good. Okay. This is just a very shallow example, but, at this more superior and higher level, it's definitely more than that. So we finish. I'm so happy that we finished this. Because, do you guys need a break or not?
I'll leave it up to you. We only got like 40 minutes.
Yeah, we only get about like 40 minutes. So if you guys don't mind, let's go to PP7. Which is chapter 13 and 14. We'll see, this is a long one. This is about 6 pages. Let's see if we can go through this. If we cannot, we can, do it tomorrow. We'll set aside a little time in the morning
So do you have them backwards on Slack? I think you have PP8 as 13 and 14 and PP7.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. You can change the file name if if possible. Can you do that, or do you want me to repost it?
Yeah, I can't change the file name in Slack, so.
Okay, so I will repost my file on the Prajna Paramita tonight after we finish the class. So we can, discard the previous one and then, retain the other ones.
You'll have to stop sharing and reshare.
Oh, okay. Okay, see if I can reshare. Okay. So Corey, you want to start reading?
Yep. So after that, Shibuti asked the Buddha, what should this sutra be called, and how should we act regarding its teachings? The Buddha replied, this sutra should be called the diamond that cuts through illusion, because it has the capacity to cut through all illusions and afflictions and bring us to the shore of liberation. Please use this title and practice according to its deepest meaning. Why? What the Tathagata has called the highest transcendent understanding is not, in fact, the highest transcendent understanding. That is why it is truly the highest transcendent understanding.
So again, the same pattern. So Shibuti asked the Buddha about how to spread and introduce the sutra so that other people can practice accordingly. Shibuti also asked the Buddha to give a title to this discourse. Now, Venerable Master Insun said that, the title of a discourse is very important. It is, in fact, represents the essence of the entire teaching. So when we see commentaries or explanation by the monastic or teacher or scholars, they always start with the title, okay? Because, by listening to the title, by knowing the title, understanding the title, it's helping a lot to understand what's going on, within the context. So a practitioner should, make sure they understand not just because people just, like the Lotus Sutra, the Japanese, there is a sect called Nichiren, they just chant the title of the Lotus Sutra or bow down to the title. So Master Venerable Insun say that, this is not the way that Buddha wants you to practice. The Buddha wants you to, yes, memorize, maybe sometimes recite, but reciting is just to increase or enable the memorization. But understanding the core teaching is the most important. That is, and practice accordingly, of course. That is the purpose of naming the title. It's just to help us remember and understand. Not, the title is not for practitioners to chant. So the Buddha answers Shibuti that this discourse should be named the diamond that cuts through illusion. And we already explained what is diamond. The Buddha explained that this discourse, when practiced accordingly, can cut through the toughest attachment. It can illuminate the dark darkest illusion, can break apart the unbreakable conceptual proliferation, which is the papancha of the mind, and will be able to dwell in the Dhamma with wisdom, just like, as pure as the diamond. So that is why the Buddha named this course the Diamond Sutra, or the Diamond Prajna Paramita Sutra. So both the name and the content of the teaching talk about how to fulfill or attain the highest transcendent wisdom. There, in fact, no highest transcendent wisdom can be attained and fulfilled. Thich Nhat Hanh explained that the Buddha advised us to practice in an intelligent way. We should learn to look deeply so that we realize that even transcendent wisdom is not an independently existing phenomenon. And the teaching has no separate nature, all without intrinsic nature. So the highest transcendent wisdom are only words that function as symbols, allowing us to understand the meaning of the teaching. Venerable Insun said that the essence of the teaching are neither the words nor can be separate from words. We need the words. Why? We need the finger to point towards the moon, right? So that we can see the moon. So we need words to explain. Without using words, the meaning cannot be expressed yet. But if we attach to the terms as if it's just like we attach to any sign or view, and think that there is something that we can attain, we can achieve. There is a transcendent wisdom that we can cultivate or develop. Then we again fall into the conceptualization. So if we really understand the meaning, we don't have to rely on any symbol or sign. This is like what? Letting go of the raft. Yeah. So any Dhamma expressed by words or sign are already being conceptualized. Once it come out in words or writing to express it, it's already being conceptualized. So that is why when the Buddha asked Subhuti, what do you think, Subhuti? Is there any Dhamma that Tathagata teach? His reply is, there's nothing to teach. So because if we say that if there's something to teach, then again, we fall into the trap of conceptualization. So, Corey? Next paragraph.
It helps if I unmute my microphone. So it starts off as just in the middle right there, right?
Yeah. It's just the next paragraph.
What do you think, Subhuti? Is there any Dharma that the Tathagata teaches? Subhuti replied, the Tathagata is nothing to teach, world-honored one. Oh, and then what do you think, Subhuti? Are there many particles of dust in the 3,000 chilocosms? Very many, world-honored one. Subhuti, the Tathagata says that these particles of dust are not particles of dust. That is why there are truly particles of dust. And what the Tathagata called chilocosms are not, in fact, chilocosms. That is why they are called chilocosms.
Okay. Chilocosm is a horizontal measurement of space. So in Mahayana Buddhism, we talk about, many, many pure lands, many solar systems, actually. This is expressed in the unit of world systems. So it's very difficult to even imagine, like we're here staying in St. Louis. It's difficult for me I might see the pictures, think about the North Pole or the South Pole, So within this solar system, yeah, we understand a little bit about it. But if we talk about, we talk about the three realms, we don't even understand this desire realm, what's going on. So I would say that we do not have to, not at this point at least, not too much attention on that. So for discourse or teaching to take place, we need to have a teacher, a venue, and audience, okay? Those are the conditions. So we have like the monastery at the Anathapindika part as the venue, Buddha as the teacher, audience. So I think we can, kind of skip this paragraph. How about the next one? Let me scroll down. Oop, too far. Yeah. The next one. Corey?
I thought I unmuted it. I'm sorry. What do you think, Shibuti? Can the Tathagata be recognized by the possession of the 32 marks? The Venerable Shibuti replied, No, world-honored one. Why? Because what the Tathagata calls the 32 marks are not essentially marks, and that is why the Tathagata calls them the 32 marks.
Okay, here, Venerable Master Ancient point out that verse 13 mentioned the three categories. The teaching of the Dhamma. Shibuti asked about the title of the teaching, right? The venue and the audience. The 3,000 Cheerio cosmos with their audience or residents. The teacher, the Tathagata, or the Buddha. So it represented in 32 marks, represents the Buddha. Okay, so three things here that in this sutra was mentioned. Now these three entities, all are without any unchangeable intrinsic nature of themselves. These are elusive signs and images that they are empty in nature and only conditionally existing. Therefore, we should not be caught up by any of them, thinking that they really exist permanently, trying to identify, the Buddha by his 32 marks, trying to make it as that they are actually substantially forms or signs of the Buddha that the Buddha possess. And then we are caught into conceptualization again. So the 32 marks, it's only words to describe, okay? Not essentially the marks that can be identified individually without condition. So to answer Shibuti's question about the name, about naming the sutra, he continued to emphasize the benefit and accepting. So, and then Corey, please.
Shibuti, if as many times as there are grains of sand in the Ganges, a son or daughter of good family gives up his or her life as an act of generosity, and if another daughter or son of a good family knows how to accept, practice, and explain the sutra to others, even if only a gata of 4 lines, the happiness resulting from explaining the sutra is far greater.
So we can refer back to the 8,000 line. Remember the section that I picked on, I think it's chapter 9 on praise. It talks about what are the benefits, what are the good effects of understanding the sutra. Here, it's kind of like, copy and paste to it. So it's talking about the same thing to illustrate the benefit and the effect of the Diamond Sutra. So now we understand that, the 8,000 lines as the earliest, how people extract the key points from that teaching, the original teaching, and put it, assemble it, combine it, connect it in a format that it's more systematic. It doesn't jump around, and in one sutra it talk about that, the other, section it talk about the other thing. Okay, Nikaya is the same thing. When we think about Nikaya, different Nikaya, even in the Samyutta Nikaya by itself, or the Digha Nikaya by itself, it's got a piece here, a piece there. Why? Because they are sutras or suttas that is taught in accordance to the faculty, according to the situation, according to the acceptance. So those are the discourses expounded by the Buddha. Here, it's a sutra also. Diamond Sutra is a sutra. It's spoken directly by the Buddha, but different groups kind of extract it and organize it into a more system way so that it flows smoothly and fluently, and people can articulate it smoothly and easier to understand. So to illustrate the benefit, they are, resulting for 3 types of generosity. Okay, the Buddha taught. Offering the 7 treasures as vast as, 3 Chiliocosm. Offering 7 treasury as countless. Now it's space. Before it's space. Now it's the number, the numeric, as countless as the sand in the Ganges River. So these 2 are material dana. They're enormous. So these practice generosity by giving up even their life. Now that is not material only, okay? Not just one lifetime, but countless lifetime, as many as the sand of the Ganges River. Such kind of sacrifice is definitely the act of a bodhisattva, right? So, but the merit and happiness resulting, from the above 3 is not comparable to accepting, practicing, and explaining the Dhamma Sutra to others. Even only just a gatha of 4 lines, still far greater than the 3 kinds of dana. So Venerable Yinzun mentioned that the essence of generosity is to sacrifice what we have to benefit others. It's easier to offer material dana. Okay, I think this is commonly acceptable. This statement, it's easier to it's easy to somebody. It might not be that easy, but comparatively. But it's very difficult to offer our lives, because life is the most precious. This is what we boil down to, what we got. In the Buddhist scripture, there are many examples that people were giving up their own life to save others, to serve their country, to salvage all beings, especially those who practice the Bodhisattva path. Now, Master Yinzun explained that beside compassion to the righteous practice generosity, we need to at the same time practice for realizing the truth. Okay. Sacrifice what we have, whether material or our own life, may relieve and help the other for the time being, but for one period of time only. Helping others to realize the truth and liberate them from suffering, its final and ultimate solution. There is a saying that if give somebody a fish, it's better to teach them how to fish. Right? Same thing here. So explaining the Diamond Sutra helps others to understand the teaching, to help them train their own mind, break away from the habitual pattern, cultivate transcendent wisdom, so they will be able to reach the final goal of liberation, cut off the root of suffering. It's better than, if you give me your life, I don't know what to do with that. So yeah, at the time of need, I would say yes, okay? But then, this is progressive, that when people are in stress, it's very difficult to teach them the Dhamma. So all depends on the situation and what they need at that time. Because, when a person is starving to death and you're saying that, no, this is empty. Yeah, he said that. Yes, of course, my stomach is empty. So, that is why a bodhisattva needs wisdom, needs skillful means. But Thich Nhat Hanh also explained that the practice of non-attachment taught in the sutra can liberate us completely from a wrong view, and wrong view is so important. I cannot stress enough. And the happiness result from this practice is far greater than any kind of happiness. That's from a more ultimate truth perspective. So do we have time for 14? Maybe we read 14 and then 14 is a long one, but I think we have time to finish that. Okay, sorry, Corey, I forgot to scroll down.
That's fine. I have it on my screen.
Oh, okay.
So, when we had heard this much and penetrated deeply into the significance, the Venerable Shibhuti was moved to tears. He said, "World honored one, you are truly rare in this world. Since the day I attained the eyes of understanding," meaning the wisdom eyes, "thanks to the guidance of the Buddha, I have never before heard teachings as deep and wonderful as these."
Okay. There is a chapter designated to the 5 eyes, but we don't have time for that. So we'll just briefly explain this. Master Insun explained that the way to accept and practice the Diamond Sutra is to understand and comprehend the teaching. Then, first understand, comprehend it, and then practice accordingly. Now, in Mahayana Buddhism, many times people will glorify the sutra and focus on the chanting, copying. People even stick their finger for blood and mix it with ink so that they have like a passage or the entire sutra reading in blood. So according to Venerable Master Insun, that it's better to understand, comprehend, accept, and practice. Okay. So some of the keywords in this paragraph are penetrate deeply into the significance. So as an arahant, Shibhuti immediately understand. Of course, he understands the reality, the nature of reality. So he was very touched by that. Another term in the paragraph, both Venerable Insun and Thich Nhat Hanh on this passage, on this paragraph, is that attain the eye of understanding, or the wisdom eye. Now, Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh comment that the eye of understanding mentioned here are not yet the eyes of the deepest, all-embracing understanding of a Buddha. Okay, this is from the perspective of the Savaka vehicle, or the arahantship. They only the eyes of an arahant. This means that Shibhuti is beginning to see. more deeply after hearing this much of the Diamond Sutra. So, but Venerable Ancient's comment about the eye of understanding is the eye of understanding, or the wisdom eye in the Chinese translation, is the wisdom that realizing the reality, okay, the truth of all phenomena. So if we compare the two explanations, if we say that according to Venerable Master Anson, that the eye of wisdom is the wisdom that realizing the reality, that means it's the prajna, the truth, right? So that is the highest level. But Venerable Tinahan would say that no, this is only in the eyes of the Savaka. I think both of them, even though the viewpoint, the cutting point is different, it is different because Venerable Tinahan was standing at the angle of Shibudi. But then Venerable Master Insun was standing at the viewpoint of the Mahayana Sutra. Okay, so that is why the explanation is a little bit different. In Agama, such eye of wisdom is called the Dhamma eye. If we remember what the sutra, the Diamond Sutras, the 5 eye, it's called the person eye, the ordinary person. It's called the heaven eye. And then it's called the, what is the next one? Wisdom eye. And then it's called the Dhamma eye. And then there is the Buddha eye. I think those are the 5 eyes. So if the Agama saying that wisdom eye is also called the Dhamma eye. So it's combining the 5 eyes into 4 then. Okay. So we can tell now, the earlier teaching of the Buddha, when they describe the Dhamma eye, there is, there is this difference. So the wisdom eye or the eye of understanding of Subhuti is actually refer to the realization of the Savaka, the Arahant practice, not the same as the realization of a Buddha in the Mahayana Sutra. So these are, those are the differences. And then we can trace back actually to the Agama, the earlier teaching. And as for why Subhuti said that he had never heard such profound teaching, Master Insun explained that there are 2 possible reasons. One, he actually never heard about it because he is a practitioner on the Savaka side, right? And this is a Mahayana Sutra, okay? And now he's beginning to see more deeply, okay? So that is according to Thich Nhat Hanh. Now, Subhuti, the other possibility is that Subhuti already awakened to the truth and for a long time and is able to communicate with the Buddha, right? So how could he not hear such teaching before? The emphasis here is not on the never heard, but on the profound teaching. Subhuti was trying to remind those Savakas who are present at the time, at the meeting, how precious and profound the teaching is, and they should all accept and awaken to the transcendent wisdom and detach from clinging to all signs and views, including the conceptualization of the Dhamma. So in the Buddha's time, most of the disciples are Savakas, we all know that, meaning that those who listen to the Dhamma and practice accordingly, their goal is to attain attain arahasya. They focus mainly on the liberation of the self through the realization of emptiness of the self. Now, they still hold to the idea that the Dhamma is consider that the Buddha's teaching is real and permanently exists. Or else, why do we practice if there is no Dhamma, right? So the Diamond Sutra is the teaching of not only emptiness of the self, but also emphasis on emptiness of all phenomena, including the Dhamma. So many of the attendants at the assemble did not understand the essence of the sutra. That is why Shibudi remind the Savaka disciples the profoundness of the sutra. There's still a lot. Shall we save this until the next time, until tomorrow? We have like 2 more pages to go on this Word file, and then another one, I think it's about 4 pages. And then I think we can finish it tomorrow, give a little time to finish, because I scheduled it some question and answer and discussion time in the morning tomorrow before go into the other topic. Would that be okay with you guys?
That's fine.
We have about 7 minutes, and I would say let's ask some questions. Anything that you want to address, any concern? Am I going too fast, too slow? Don't tell me that there are too many, too much material. I know that.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say that.
It's
a lot. It's not too much. It's just a lot.
Yeah. Within 2 months, we have to digest. We have to consume all these informations. And then, and they're not separate, fortunately or unfortunately, because, some of the concept will be repeated and repeated and repeated. I try to point out, what should be pay attention to. So when you look at the assignment, the homework assignment, you can find most, I say 90% from the notes. Okay, then we went over. But there's a small portion, I put it in there for stimulating some thinking or research. So, in that way, I mean, yeah, it is important for the examination. It's important that we go through the course, but the most important is to learn and to comprehend. And then, eventually we can teach and not teach or share, right? Not only, we practice accordingly, but, we are able to expound the Buddha's teaching. So I think that is very important too. But then, the sutta is the sutra. Sutta is the sutta. Sutra is the sutra. Discourses are discourses. They are our pair of eyes. Okay, we need our legs, our feet to walk too. So I think the beauty of this class, this diploma course, is to at least let us learn systematically. And we have a system that we go through. It's just like this course, this Chinese selected passages of Chinese literature. It's organized in a way that we start from the early teaching, we go into the prajna, then we go into the yogacara, then we, the Abhidhamma yogacara, and then we go into the Pure Land, and then the Lotus Sutra. it has a meaning by organized that way. You know, I really like that, you know, organization, because in this way we'll be able to see the progression of each school's thinking. And we're able to compare too, like, you know, comparison, it's one of the tools. With the comparison, we will be able to understand and penetrate further, deeper. So those techniques, I think they're good techniques. You know, we are not 100% precise, to be honest, but you know, we at least in the at this level, we learn a lot. I learn a lot actually by preparing the classes. Okay, no question? Maybe when we get to Abhidhamma or the Yogacara, we will maybe ask our team member, you know, whoever present, to give a comment on that. That may be another way of learning. Okay, shall we take rest?
Sounds good.
Okay, I will see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Karen.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I really